Karin.
Hey! It only seems like minutes ago we were doing this, Tim.
Fantastic, isn't it? Isn't it the magic of online shows? Here we are. Apparently, I'm your special guest because this is a Karin Ridgers Veganuary panel. But I'm just popping in here to say hello and to welcome all our wonderful guests, and also, of course, to welcome our listeners. And if you're a Veganuary, I was about to say beginner, I was going to say something else, but if you're new to Veganuary, or if you do just completing it, or you might have fallen off the wagon a bit, or whatever you're at with it, or indeed you might have done it before, or you might not even have done it, so you maybe think about doing it. Wherever you're at, welcome to this Veganuary panel. And Karin, tell us what's going on this panel then.
Well, we've just got some really fantastic people that we hope will inspire you. They are going to share their vegan journey, their tips, their helpful bits of information. And, you know, because it is great learning from the experts, but it's also great learning from real people that have walked the walk, you know, talked the talk for however many years, quite a few years for the people that we've got coming up. And, you know, we get to hang out with them and pick their brains and find out more about them and see what we can incorporate into our own vegan journey as well. So that's why I just love talking to fellow vegans. I really do. And we're so lucky here at Vegfest, whether it's Vegfest when we're live at London Olympia or whether we are online, we get the best people. They are just brilliant. So I can't wait to bring them on and so we can all get to hang out with them for a little while this afternoon.
Indeed, Karin, and I think it's important to remember, especially you and I have been vegan, I think we added it up something like, was it 65 years between us or something ridiculous? And you know, it's really important to remember the fun and the vibrancy and the initial wow, you know, there's some really interesting things go off. So we're going to get pretty much tucked in straight away. We've got a good number of guests. We've got half a dozen really good guests to come. Of course, you can watch this anytime later. It'll be on the Vegfest website. But our first guest, Karin, is somebody that is really going to get huge credit because, to be honest, Veganuary, well, just to go very briefly back, I remember you got in touch with me back in 2014 and you emailed me, you messaged me, in fact, on Facebook, and you said this Veganuary thing. And I remember looking at it and thinking, that is the most ridiculous name I've ever heard of. That is one of the worst. What kind of an awful campaign is this that you've got here? I had no faith in it at all. But very, very quickly that changed, actually. And it has now become, unquestionably, the world's leading outreach, foot in the door initiative to help people get started on what is initially a plant-based diet journey that leads into and evolves into veganism. Some people start it, some people carry on, some people grow into the whole thing, some people ditch it, but it's undoubtedly made a huge difference. And Karin, on that note, I think we're excessively honoured to be able to welcome our first guest, who is, of course, a big part of Veganuary. And when I say big part, really the key part, I would say at the moment, because I know that our guest here pretty much orchestrates, you know, the whole public face, especially of Veganuary. Karin, would you like to introduce our first guest?
I am so excited. I knew Toni quite some years ago, and I know how passionate she is about Veganuary. Toni Vernelle is the International Head of Communications and Marketing, and she must be an absolutely busiest bee at the moment. So we're really lucky she's taken time out on her Saturday afternoon to come and join us. Toni, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, you are looking gorgeous, as always, with this amazing mane of red hair as well. Beautiful. Oh, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Well, look, I know
Yeah,
you're
well
so
done. Thanks, Toni. I know you must be so busy. So as Karin says, we are thrilled. And I know Karen's got a couple of questions to ask you about what's been happening, how many people have been doing it, the current stuff. But no, it's very good of you to join us. So well
Yeah,
done.
no, thank you. Always a pleasure.
That's lovely. And obviously the award winner as well for Vegfest this year.
That's right. Yeah. I was on when you presented the awards as well. Yeah, that was really exciting. Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Well, look, 2021, we're at the end of January now, so we've got a couple of days left of Veganuary 2021. Is it year 7? The 7th
I think it's year 8 because 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, year 8.
I was doing the fingers as well then. Each year it builds up and builds up. And, you know, I have to say, and, you know, when I had that conversation with Matthew Glover and he said about this idea, unlike some who you know, sort of didn't like the name or whatever, you know, I just fell in love with the idea because anything, oh, sorry, look, my hair's all gone skewed, anything to encourage and give advice and help that person to make the best decision of their life, to me, there's nothing going to beat that. What do you think the secret of the success of Veganuary has been, how you have built up year on year, because every year the numbers what they double or something every year.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. So this year we've had so far this year 580,000 people sign up, which is insane. Last year was 400,000, so you know, almost 200,000 more than last year. In 2019 was 250,000. So in just 2 years we've more than doubled the number, which is pretty incredible. I think it's multifaceted. I think the name plays a part because it's so quirky, and even though, you know, most people can't pronounce it, it does kind of stand out. You know, it is quite a novelty. So I think that makes it a little bit gimmicky, and you know, people love a gimmick, right? In Britain, people do that Stoptober, and they do the mustache in November and all that stuff. So I think, you know, the idea that it was a challenge that anyone could do helped. But also, and someone else said this, I saw someone else, I think it was the guys from Bosch doing an interview, and the interviewer asked them, why do you think veganism has grown so much over the last few years? And they actually said, oh, we think it's because of Veganuary, because they made it okay just to try it, you know, just to give it a go and see how you got on, that it didn't have to be, you know, this is me committed for the rest of my life from today. Because we know from human behavior, that's not how human behavior change happens. You know, people like to start off with small steps, and then once they feel confident in those steps, then they go to the next level. I mean, most people, all of us did it probably very quickly because we were really passionate, you know, about animal rights. But with most people, you know, you have to kind of take them on a journey, you know, and you have to let them know it's okay just to do this month and take away from it what works for you. And then we get people who come back and do it a second year, and maybe after the second year they stick with it, or, you know, after the first year they cut back to start with. They might reintroduce some animal products, but they cut back. And then after, you know, come the summer, they kind of go, actually, you know what? I don't need this. You know, I've learned enough now that I can cut it out completely. And I think that for most people, that's generally a more successful way to change their diet than just doing it overnight. And that you need to be really have strong convictions to do it really quickly for most people.
Yeah, what are you seeing, like the feedback from people at the moment? Are they finding it easy? Are they transitioning what they're eating currently into a plant-based version? You know, are there any people that are saying, hey, look, you know, I'm finding this tough?
Yes, if we do a survey at the end, and it's always really interesting to get the results. So last year, over 60% said it was a lot easier than they thought. Around 50% said they intend to stick with it going forward. That's it. They wouldn't go back to eating animal products. Over 70% said they would try it again. They would definitely try veganism again. Over 90% said they would recommend friends and family take part in Veganuary. So most people seem to find it, you know, a rewarding experience. The one thing, well, the two things that people struggle with because we do ask them that. And still about 20% of people say eating out is still a challenge. And then the next highest one is pressure from friends and family. That's really what people find the hardest. It's that social pressure, people not supporting them in their immediate social circles. And, you know, I've never really given too much thought to what my family thinks or whatever. You know, we have to recognize that for some people, that social pressure really can be a barrier for them.
Definitely. I mean, you know, I've studied psychology just for fun because I find it a fascinating topic. And I think what I learned from that is that people don't want their friends and family to change. They're scared of losing their friends and family. You know, if that person then goes vegan, well, I won't be able to go out with them anymore. I won't be able to eat the same food. I don't want that person to change, even though it is going to be a fantastic change for the good, for the better of the planet, for the better for the animals, for the better for the person's health. You know, it's sad, but it is a very big, important part. You know, if you've got pressure from your husband or your wife who's saying, oh, don't do it. Oh, you know, I'm going to miss our cozy nights in having a pizza. You can still have a flipping vegan pizza. But for the person that's really finding that tough, Toni, what would you say to them? Is there any little nuggets? I know I'm throwing you in at the deep end, but it's a fascinating, and it's obviously a big deal to a lot of people.
I mean, I guess one of the best ways is to try and cook for them. You know, like you said, show them that you can have vegan versions of all the same foods. Maybe start with some of the simpler things like a cottage pie with vegan mince or lasagna, spag bowl, you know, things like that where you can't even notice the difference, so that they see it doesn't involve a wholesale overhaul of the diet. You know, you can still eat familiar foods. And then also try, if they will, watch some of the documentaries. You know, we're all stuck indoors now and there's nothing else to do. So you might be able to get them to watch, even starting with something like The Game Changer. So there's no graphic nudity in it. You know, it's not going to make them feel like bad people for eating animals. You know, it's focusing entirely on the health aspect. That's a good segue into it. And then maybe over time you could get them to do Cowspiracy and then eventually force them to watch Earthlings. And then hopefully they'll never give you a hard time again.
Oh, well, Toni, look, I know we're going to rapidly go through. We've got some fantastic people waiting in the wings. I'd love to chat to you. Maybe we can try and steal you away later in the middle of the year when maybe things aren't so hectic.
Definitely.
But I know Tim's got a quick question, but I just wanted to know, before Tim asks you his question, is what would you like to say to everybody that took part in Veganuary this year?
Oh, we'd like to say a massive congratulations. Thank you for doing something positive for animals and the planet, and hopefully also for your own health. And, you know, our motto at Veganuary is don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. So if you've had a few slip-ups, you've given in to temptation, that doesn't mean that you just write it all off and go back to your own habits. You know, take what you've learned, go forward, and keep trying your best.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Toni. Tim, did you want to ask Toni something?
Yeah, I was just saying, I quite agree with that. I think it's really important to be encouraging, especially in the early days. You know, people, it's a lifetime's habit. And I think sometimes those of us who've been vegan a while, we underestimate just how deeply speciesist this culture is and how long it takes. You know, we do have to chip away, and it's important, I think, to have, you know, consistent messages. I think messaging is really important. I think language is really important. But the real thing is to be supportive and be kind. That's the key issue. One of the things I love about Veganuary, and they're rightfully, I mean, I've always defended Veganuary by saying, look, you cannot expect one organizer, one voice, if you like, to be the perfect voice. You know, if you see gaps, fill them in. You know, don't necessarily don't point out the gaps. Just fill them in. If you think something needs doing, do it. And Veganuary gives us a wonderful spearhead to allow that. And we've got all these wonderful guests who are going to come along and say similar things about encouraging people to keep going. And don't worry if you slipped up or if you don't throw everything under You know, and it does take time. It is a journey. Well, although it's easy to get to that point and think, you know what, you're right. I don't want to use animals anymore. That's good. You know, for everyone who can see that, there's also many people who perhaps don't always see that. So it's important that we keep lots of different messages. But I'd love to invite you, Karen's just mentioned that, I'd love to invite you at a time, Toni, because we have these online options, we've got lots of really interesting people. I would love to invite you to a session to look at Veganuary and talk about Veganuary, perhaps in 3 or 4 months, maybe even in March when we do the health and fitness, and talk about some of those aspects. And I think particularly how some of the other nationals could really help. I see you've got some great tie-ups with the Vegan Society. You know, I know you work closely with all the groups, so it'd be great to see a really coordinated effort next year that really, really, really broadened this. And of course, the global impact too. I know you work.
Yeah, I mean, we're growing so much around the world. Yeah.
So thanks ever so much. Well done, and congratulations to all the team. I know you've got a lot of volunteers.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a great team. We're really lucky. We have a great team at Veganuary.
Yeah, well done. Putting in those hours and hours and hours of dedication. I know you work all year round. I know what a big project it is to organise. It takes months and months and months. And indeed, you're no doubt already starting on the next one already.
Yeah. So you can't help it. You immediately start thinking, "Oh, we could do this next year."
Congratulations! Well done.
Brilliant.
And good to see you again. And
thank you.
Thank you, Toni. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Oh, that was wonderful. Toni Vernelle, main lady, massive part of Veganuary, and we're really lucky to have her, especially coming towards the end of Veganuary as well.
Yeah, well done. So, Karin, who have we got next? We're going to go, we've got some guests waiting, and we're going to rattle through a quick sort of 10 minutes of inspirational, uplifting, inspire you on your way type stories. So, who have we got? Who have we got? Who have we got?
Well, join us I think we have got the most fabulous Chef Day Radley. I hope that Chef Day Radley is there waiting with her cup of tea. How are you, my lovely?
It's so chilly. It's so chilly. So yeah, tea and chats. Let's do that.
We love it. Thank you.
Well, Chef Day. Yeah. Now I've got to know you a bit better. We first connected many years ago, and I just thought this woman is pretty impressive. But I've got to learn that you've done over 100 Facebook Lives.
Yeah.
Probably mainly are all cook-alongs during the lockdown to really boost people's spirits and inspire them with their vegan cookery. And you personally have created over 100 professional vegan chefs. It blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, really big landmark, really big landmark, because when I was like coming up with the idea of the Vegan Chef School, I was like, if I can give the world 100 new vegan chefs, then, you know, I would have done, you know, something, like created like real change. So that was like the marker that I put for myself, and I've just recently been able to achieve it, which is amazing. And of course, like we do all the Facebook live events, so lots of recipes that people cook along with, and I think we're up to about 156 now. So
gosh, you're putting me to shame. Well, look, we've just said bye-bye to Tim. He's going to let us girls have a nice chat, which is wonderful. You're in your kitchen. Is this all where the inspiration happens?
Yeah. I mean, this is where I spend most of my time. So I've just been making a cobbler this morning. So I split my time between the kitchen and my photography studio, because of course we need to like make it look lovely, and, you know, inspire people to make it and stuff like that. So yeah.
Can you tell us, because I know you and I, we just need a whole hour at least just to but I want to find out, because we're talking about, you know, Veganuary, we're talking about people that have they're on the end of their Veganuary challenge, and we're hoping that this might inspire people to stick with their Veganuary. You know, so every month is Veganuary, you know, become vegan. But I mean, you've been vegan a very long time. What was that turning point for you, Day?
So I actually grew up in Coventry in the West Midlands, and in 1995 there were quite a few protests around the country against veal exports. So, live exports, transporting calves and making them into veal because it was illegal to do so in this country. And so they changed where the cars would go out from. So initially I think it was Dover. They had to shut that down, and then they moved to Coventry Airport. And so some of the people that I went to college with, they took me to a protest there. And this little old lady, and not kidding you, like this little old lady was like about that high, like proper granny, a tea on her head. Not what the media present as a protester at all, like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
She came over to me and she gave me this, always remember this pink flyer, and it had a picture of a cow with, massive udders, like all the way to the ground. And it basically told me, what happened to a dairy cow and what happened to the dairy cow's calf as well. And I had no idea up until that point. And I was just completely shocked by it. And I was 17. So I was at that really, really important moment when you're trying to work out what type of an adult do you want to be. So I think I always feel so blessed by having that experience at that time, because it just made me realize, well, I don't want to be that type of person. I don't want to give to something that I feel is so utterly inhumane. And so I went vegan overnight. Had no idea how to cook. Linda McCartney, oh my gosh, that was how I lived. So I just had to live off freezer food for a while until I started just experimenting with food. The first type of food I started experimenting with was Indian food, because my best friend, her parents was from India, and I go around her house and there'd be these little pots of leftover curry and chapatis and stuff like that, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. So I just started experimenting, but I made a lot of mistakes, but I just kept on trying.
Did you eat your mistakes though? I hate wasting food.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But I don't think you can get too worried about making mistakes in the kitchen, because that's how we learn. And I think in this country we have a really funny relationship with food. On the one hand, we don't really want to do it. We see it as a chore, and then on the other hand, we have these cookery programs and stuff like that where we watch people cook, and then a lot of people just go and put something in the oven from the freezer. So, we do have a very, very strange relationship with food. But I try and make everyone see that cooking can be fun and easy and creative as well. So one of the things I say to people is play with your food. You're always taught not to do that, but you should.
Absolutely, definitely, and create different things and different flavors. I mean, I've been vegan not as long as you, I don't think. I mean, I've been probably a similar time, about 1995. I can't remember now, about 25 years. Yeah. And I think I sort of got into a bit of a boring habit, or a bit of a boring rut. I like my food, but I'm just thinking there's more out there. So I'm doing your home cook course. And what I think the main thing for me is you've got to get some preparation. You've got to be prepared. You've got to have the ingredients. Mm-hmm. But what I love, Day, is that your recipes, I think there's a few points that really struck out for me. Is you can involve your kids if you have them. You can involve your partner. You can be really proud of what you've made. But what surprised me is it doesn't take any longer than putting that stuff in the oven. Yeah. You can do a big extravagant. I mean, for my birthday dinner yesterday, my hubby spent hours in the kitchen, bless him, which was lovely, and made some really fantastic things, which was lovely. The recipes I've tried with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, this has not taken hours and hours. So I'm really enjoying doing your course in particular. What would you give for advice for that person now that maybe is coming to the end of Veganuary and they've bought the new this and they've tried this product? Mm-hmm. I think for me, cooking stuff from scratch has always been a little bit sort of scary, but it's not, is it? And it certainly doesn't need to be because it's vegan.
No, it doesn't have to be scary or daunting or anything like that. You need to find the right recipes. I mean, I do go to a lot of effort to try to make my recipes as short as possible and as easy as possible, because I know that my competition is getting something from the freezer and putting it in the oven. So if that's my competition, you know, it needs to be easy and quick. And, you know, a lot of us, we are like when we come home from work of an evening, you know, and we want to, the easy thing is just to whack something in the oven. But that's why doing things like batch cooking is such a great thing, you know, where you make a lot of one recipe and then freeze it. So, and there's so many recipes that you can do that with, so many recipes. So, you know, make your stuff at the weekend, and then during the week you can just get something from the freezer and put it in the oven, but it will be something that you've actually made from scratch, you know. And I find that that is like one of the best ways to be healthy. I mean, you know, I eat burgers, I make ice cream, you know, I don't just eat kale or anything like that. And I do a bit of exercise, not as much as I used to. And, you know, I'm healthy, I'm slim, you know, and I don't need to really worry about it. And that's one of the things that I find, like when you're cooking from scratch, like you can have things that we see as like naughty, but actually when you make them yourself, they're so much healthier for you. You know, so, but I think, you know, if people are getting to the end of Veganuary, I would say, you know, if you've enjoyed it, then keep the momentum going, you know, just kind of like keep it going, keep exploring, keep finding, you know, new recipes, new products that you like. If you have had like, you know, things that you've stumbled over with Veganuary, you know, you've tried something, you haven't really liked it, you thought, oh, you know, that part of, you know, vegan food isn't for me. Well, research. Look for communities online as well, because Karin, honestly, like I think that is always one of the best things about veganism is the community.
Yeah.
Aspect to it, the fact that everyone is willing to help each other out. So, you know, there's lots of lovely Facebook groups that you can go into, you know, and ask questions, and people will be willing to help you. They will be.
I love that. Day, how can people find out more about what you're doing at the moment?
So they can look at my website, which is theveganchefschool.com, or find me on Facebook or Instagram. But every Saturday, usually apart from today, I'm doing a cook along. So next week, I think, so I asked my community whether they wanted to make homemade cheese on toast. Or, which is really, really simple and easy, or a butternut squash soup, and everyone said soup. I thought it would have been the cheese on toast.
Me too. I would have said both.
Let's do both.
Have you got anything you can quickly hold up just to tempt us?
Oh, well, I've got my cobbler here, which is very, very lovely.
Oh, that looks so good. What's in there? Like berries and stuff?
Apples and blueberries.
Oh, that looks nice.
Yeah, it makes the house smell lovely. Really, really nice.
I think what I love about the course, and I know Tim might have a quick question. I think Tim's on mute, but what I love about the course is there's step-by-step advice. You know, somebody who has been vegan like me for years, I can follow it. I can see what things are meant to look like as I've gone along. There's different techniques that you learn. You know, it's not just reading a recipe. There's more that you pack in, and I'm really, really enjoying doing it. And I'm so blessed with friends. I'm blessed that we get to work together. And I can't wait. I've got like a whole list of things that is like, that's got to be on my A list. That's got to be on my A list. I've got to make that next. Tim, are you a good cook?
Yeah, I'm one of these. I'm a brilliant chef, actually. I'm one of these people who just grabs it, chucks it in the pan, and whacks it up, serves it up. But I have a knack for it, and I've perfected some dishes over the years that I really, 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 I've been very lucky to have been always blessed with an ability to just make stuff up. I've never used a recipe in my life, I don't think. But I do remember famously trying to bake a cake when I was about 10 years old on holiday, and I famously didn't have a recipe. And it came out like a kind of lead lump. But that's my family, my mum especially, sort of dutifully ploughing through at least a couple of mouthfuls to try and make this. It's like, oh, this is Yes, very, very nice, as you do with. I'm sure you've had a few experiences, but today it's been great because all the way for lockdown, you've been doing that. People have had time to learn new skills, and of course, the plant-based thing is really important because we eat a lot of the time. There's a lot of social, there's a lot of emotional aspects to food. There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of fulfillment in preparing food. There's a whole cultural aspect. So just a huge thing around food that is so much more than just nutrition. But of course, to shift that whole massive great passion from animal-based to plant-based is just such an important transition. And to be able to bring that alive for people, inspire people. And I just love the way that we can just normalise this and just make it normal. I know when we all went plant-based a number of years ago, it was, I suppose that's why I was a good chef, because I never needed a recipe. Just chuck it all in a pot. But I'm good at that. Not everybody have that confidence. And my food comes out superb, I know that. So I eat it every day.
Oh, modest, aren't you?
I can't wait to cook for you all. I will cook for you all. I make some fantastic food, but I've never used a recipe. But I understand that people don't often have that confidence or know-how, nor do they mind eating their own mistakes. I mean, I don't mind eating your mistake. If it comes out over the top on one thing and under the other, it's like, But it's been brilliant watching you during lockdown, and a really good day. Good luck with everything you're doing. And especially if you're veganuarying, doing your veganuaries, getting into this is just a brilliant resource. So well done, Day. Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you, Day.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, I absolutely love Day. She just looks so cool with her cup of tea in her kitchen, and I think she's
excessive.
Yeah. She's really lovely lady.
It makes it easy to take some of the, because again, Karin, I don't know what you're like in the kitchen. You're good. Do you like, I see quite a few on Facebook, but you got that natural confidence, or do you like to use a cookbook and a kind of resource?
I just.
Should I be asking your family that? Maybe they.
Well, no, I mean, I've got to say, I just am quite like you. I seem to create really fantastic things, and I just make it up as I go along. I don't look at the oven. I just feel the food for some reason. So I really like that. However, it's quite interesting to follow a recipe, to use the ingredients that Day has suggested in some of her recipes. That there's ingredients I've never heard of and different types of flour, and I'm really impressed. So I've got some recipe books that I've been sent that have never even been open, and I've got some, especially one from our good friend Toni Bishop Weston, that I've used quite a few times. So it's for me, it's all about time, and I think it's making that time. And good stuff. I'm looking forward to coming round yours for dinner.
Yeah, well, we're a couple 100 miles apart, but we're united in spirit and presence, and certainly sat literally 2 millimeters apart from each other on the screen. Look, moving on rapidly, because I know we've got some fab guests, and we've got an actress that is going to join us now. Karin, tell us a little bit more about our third guest, I beg your pardon.
Well, I've looked at Wendy's show reel, and I've thought, oh my gosh, that's her. She's been acting for more than 40 years, which it just blows my mind. She's a leading film, TV, stage. She's an acting coach. I'm very excited about her film that she's going to tell us about. She lives 20 minutes down the road, so to me, she's a fellow Essex girl, so I like that a lot. And I also see her on Facebook jumping into Southend Sea in the freezing cold, doing these incredibly freezing cold swims most mornings in the sea, which I find quite inspirational. But we're so lucky she's joining us, because she's a passionate vegan, and we're going to find more out about Wendy Morgan. Hopefully she's just going to appear as though by magic on our screen.
Yeah.
Yay! Oh, welcome. It's lovely to see you. Thanks for taking the time out.
Well, no, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much for asking me on. And isn't Day amazing, Chef Day?
You've got to do a home cook course.
I think I need to. And
You need
permission to make a mistake. And I feel, oh, okay, I'm on with that.
Yeah, eat your mistakes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're all vegan. Wendy, really great to see you. Your film looks fantastic. You know, I've seen the trailer. It's doing well. I think is it in the Vegan Film Festival?
We played at the International Vegan Film Festival in Ottawa, in Canada, a little while back.
Oh.
So that was great. That was where we world premiere there.
Oh, that's amazing. Online. Well, look, we'll find out more about you first of all as well, because I know I've heard great things about you from our very good friend Carol Royal, who we adore, who I first met 15 years ago, and she does sing your praises, Wendy, which I wanted to tell you.
Well, she's a very, very lovely lady. I have to say.
She blows my mind. I adore her. I absolutely adore her. I want to know about your vegan journey, Wendy. How did it all start for you?
I guess the tip over, I think I've been dabbling vegetarian on and off all my life. And then about 12 years ago, Animal Aid did an investigation into 9 abattoirs in the UK. And I don't know, we're getting some feedback now. I'm not sure. I could hear some. There you go, Tim. Tim's gone silent. Poor Tim. I keep shutting him up. Yeah, they did this investigation and I heard about it online, and that one of the abattoirs that they investigated was just up the road from us, basically.
Oh, I think I know the one you mean.
Yeah, so I went there and followed the case to court. They eventually were able to take it to court, even though it was undercover footage that they saw within the abattoir. And needless to say, what I saw, apart from the fact that animals get killed, which is pretty horrendous when they don't want to die anyway, but because it was on top of that, this inherent abuse, which wasn't just there, it was, I started finding out that it was everywhere, like all these investigations, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't it just makes me really emotional just to get that moment where you really make a connection with another, because we used to watch the animals going in and in the trucks and looking in their eyes and their fear, and they're just another non-human person. And so it just traumatized me, actually. And I went vegan, and my son was like, "Mum, you can't go vegan at your age." He said, "You know, your bones," and because you're brought up in a way I was, to not out of harm, but that you just learn that you have to eat dairy and you have to eat meat. And I said to him, well, okay, well, if I break my bones, then I do, but ethically I can't do this anymore. And then I started reading and found out so much that actually it was harmful to be eating all these things. So that was my turning point at that time to going vegan.
12 years ago, and lovely of your son to say about the age. God,
only trying to look after me, but I got it. I was a bit worried myself, because you think, well, at that age, after menopause and the lack of whatever you have in your bones, I'm not scientific, but that you're not more prone to fracture. But then reading the science of combination of dairy and meat in your bone is not good. So I mean, go away and read. Don't take me ridiculous way of saying that, but I read from very good sciences about it.
Well, look, did you, because we're you know, this is our Veganuary special, you know, we want to really embrace all those fantastic people that have made the decision, they've stepped up. More than 500,000 people have taken this pledge. It just is my birthday present, I think, to think, you know, I mean, we've still got the rest of the planet to convince, of course. But, you know, for you then, okay, you know, you said about your son and everything. So, you know, you wasn't like the 19-year-old girl on Instagram with her Buddha bowl showing, you know, wearing a bikini and saying, hey, look, I'm vegan. You know, you went in, but it's been 12 years. So what have you noticed? Has there been any, you know, selfish personal benefits to when you made that decision to going vegan? And I'm just sort of thinking, you know, because of that person that's thinking, well, look, Wendy was older, you know, you're saying after menopause, which I can't quite believe, because I just think you look so gorgeous and you would never.
Thank you.
I just wouldn't.
I'll send you the money later.
Yeah. But what have you noticed anything that
physiologically, I would say, because my family, sadly, my brother died at 50, and there were heart things and lots of like that ran in my family. So the cholesterol in my family is naturally quite high, and even though mine is probably a little higher than it would be ideal, it's a lot lower than otherwise would be. So the physiological lowering of that, for one thing, but that's not why I did it.
Of course.
But that was a wonderful side effect of that kind of thing. My skin, well, I don't know. Lockdown doesn't really aid the skin, and I haven't been able to get proper coloured makeup, so I'm not that ideal, but I think my skin is better than it might be otherwise. It's a bit clearer, perhaps. My energy levels are really high, which
well, I've seen with you jumping into Southend Sea.
But I don't know if that's a thing, you know, if that's because of being vegan. However, my emotional and mental, psychological feelings about being vegan, I think, enhance everything else, because I feel at one with, it makes me always emotional to do it, so I won't be emotional, but I do feel very at one with every creature, you know, that us humans, animals, insects, you know, it's a fantastically full planet of incredible beings, like a really amazing friend of mine, Richard Deboo, who lives in...
Oh, bless, I know him.
Right? He put a photograph up of a spider outside his window that's been there for months, still through all the different weathers, watching over the sack of eggs that she has there. And it's incredible. So I have this feeling of joy, actually, which I try and sometimes hide away, because it's a bit much sometimes to blaze into the world, and when there's so much awful stuff going on, to be so happy. And I have to kind of dim the light a little bit, because it's a bit, but I do feel a great sense of joy, whether that's hormonal, goodness knows, but the combination, I think, of all of the things equals feel good, a little bit, perhaps, touch wood, physiologically better. But yeah.
When I could listen to you all day, I'm so inspired. I'm thinking a couple of things. I mean, for one, you know, I know you're an actress, and I know you've done lots of incredible work, and now you've directed the film and wrote it. Probably you just did everything, because I know it's come from your heart. Well, for one, my dream was always to be an actress. So I'm going to say to you now, if you ever do another film, count me in, because I want to be part of it.
Yeah.
Tim, don't write Tim in.
No, I want it too.
Well, I'm just writing one, so you come at the right moment. And
So absolutely fabulous. I'd love to be in the film.
I'll have a chat with you after about what we could play.
Don't mind being an extra. Don't mind being,
Supporting artists.
That's great. I love
Oh,
I also had my debut in 1975 when I trod the boards for the very first time, aged 12. I absolutely adored acting. I would love to have gone as being a professional actor and studied acting and made a career of it. I think it would have been a marvellous thing to do.
Well, as they say, it's never too late.
yeah.
I don't know about
It isn't.
It's been really inspirational listening to you. We've got a couple of other guests, as you know, we were chatting earlier too. So thank you very much for the sharing of this. And we will be in touch because Karin has a new project that will be under wraps at the moment. We'll be revealing all. But I'm sure that will involve your good self, and we'd like to know a bit more about some of those things you touched on, and especially that holistic feeling. I get that same, just when I went vegan 40 years ago, people say, well, why? It's just, you know what, it just ticks all the boxes. I can't think of a box that it doesn't tick.
No, I can't.
And I could never really pin it down. It was just, and in those days, 30, 40 odd years ago, 84 I went vegan. I went plant-based in 1980, pretty much. I'm vegan in 84, but it was never really for any one particular reason. It was just a combination. And so I think it's really important to remember that, and Alex touched on that earlier with the Veganuary aspect. It doesn't really matter why you come to veganism. It doesn't really matter at the moment. If you've gone on a plant-based diet, you're making progress down that route. That is just fabulous. Keep going, keep listening, keep watching people like Day showing us how to make food, listening to inspirational people, and also about people who've overcome obstacles. And I know that, for instance, when we talk tomorrow, we're going to be talking globally to some activists. So we've got activists in Morocco, activists in Athens, Greece, people in New York, in the Bronx. We've got people coming from different places that are not just, kind of UK-centric, and how lucky we are to have so much inspiration. We'll be talking to some of the people, perhaps, globally, really, really making progress in areas that perhaps really resistant to even a plant-based meal, even just having a plant-based meal. So, thanks.
I forgot to tell you quickly that Mercy, the film, is about the life and death of a factory-farmed pig, and all the animals are played by humans, apart from the real-life footage.
Yeah. It's my fault because you sent the film through to Karin, and Karin sent it to me, and I didn't send it through to Pete. So, Karin, next time CC Pete in, because I'm the spoke in the works usually. I forget to do these things. So, my apologies, Wendy, for
thank you so much.
Do our best.
But
we'll do our best. We will be sharing and supporting.
Yeah.
Quickly, how else can we support the film, Wendy?
We're trying.
Mercy.
We're trying to raise a bit of extra money to get to get a better trailer, because I cut the whole film myself, but we need a better trailer to try and get to a sales agent so they can put the film out further afield than we could ourselves. But any share or join the Facebook page or the Twitter page, Mercy Movie.
So we'll make sure that Karin, that this time I get it, we'll make sure we act on that. We'll share that around for you, make sure people can access it. So if you're listening, you want to access it later, we'll make sure that's on the Vegfest Facebook page.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, and have a good day.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
Bye. That's really interesting. Karin, thanks for getting such fantastic guests. You get so many amazing guests. This is what I tell you, it inspires me. Inspires me. I've never met Wendy. And I tell you what, I was listening to her there and thinking, you've nailed it. You just nailed it. That's it. You just nailed it there. I mean, it's great. It's so exciting. Do you remember who was the guy you had from EastEnders who we had on?
Danny Hatchard.
Danny, you know what? I've been watching EastEnders since, and it's like, wow, powerful stuff right now going on. But what an inspiration Danny was. It's very, very interesting to listen. So if you're somebody perhaps struggling with some of the aspects of getting onto a plant-based diet, about furthering into your vegan journey, do take inspiration. Talking of which, Karin, our next guest, who is patiently waiting there, just to join us once more. I'm so thrilled. It's always a pleasure. Do you want to introduce our next guest, please, Karin?
We are so lucky. Veganuary ambassador, TV star, just probably, I mean, she knows I adore her because I've told her. She'd be like, oh, for God's sake, shut up, Karin. But we are so lucky to have Jasmine Harman joining us. Hopefully she'll be on our screen. TV superstar and passionate vegan. I know, shut up. Can't help it. You were brushing your hair. I'm going to brush my hair.
Oh, yeah. I
Your
was
hair
just
looks beautiful. You look
handing the kids
fantastic.
over.
Oh,
I've
I know.
hide upstairs so I can chat to you guys in peace.
Oh, are they okay? Is everybody doing well?
Yeah, I mean, the kids are great. They're having fun homeschooling. Me, on the other hand, I don't think I'm cut out to be a teacher. It's very unusual for me to be in one place for such a long time, and
Yeah.
you know,
It's probably not happened, has it? That's never happened.
20 years. I've not been at home for this long for about 20 years. So it's it's weird, but you know, we're just muddling through. It's all good. But you know, lots of different things going on, and you know, I can't believe it's coming to the end of January already. You know, it's the end of January, the end of the first month for me of homeschooling, and the end of Veganuary as well. But of course, you know, Veganuary, you can do Veganuary in March, in May, in August, whenever you want.
Yeah. Well, you are an ambassador for Veganuary, and I know because that's when you and I connected initially, because that was your step to go vegan.
Well, I did the first ever Veganuary. I heard Toni mentioning it earlier, and I had just become a mother, and it was all about, you know, just being able to try. I was already vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian, you know, since I was 6 years old, but had never really sort of put two and two together, because for me, being a vegetarian was because I didn't want to do any harm to any animals, because, you know, I consider them to be my friends. And so finally sort of finding this vehicle through which I could say to my husband, I'm going to just try it for a month, you know, and he accepted that. And I think, you know, that is so important, just to be able to try it out, to, you know, for yourself, but also for your family and your loved ones, to be able to, you know, say, all right, we'll put up with it for a month. And then, you know, my conviction grew throughout the month, and I realized it was easy enough. And, you know, and now it's even easier. It's so easy to be vegan in restaurants, at home, you know, when you go to the supermarket, or you buying food online, and even when we're allowed to travel again, when you're in other countries, you know, there are vegan restaurants popping up everywhere. There are vegan dishes popping up on menus. I can go into any random restaurant in Spain or France or wherever and say I'm vegan, and they understand what that means now. Which
I don't think they did they, when you, before this sort of Veganuary journey, like 8 years ago?
Oh, no way.
So you've seen a big change even overseas.
Massive.
In the past 8 years.
Massive. I mean, you know, as I was vegetarian before, I'd say to, you know, in a restaurant, I'd say to a waiter, I'm vegetarian. So is this dish suitable? Does it contain any meat? No. And then it would come, and it would be, you know, soup with bits of chorizo floating around in it, or it would be asparagus wrapped in bacon. And you'd say, I'm vegetarian. And they'd go, but it's not meat. It's just chorizo. It's bacon. Or it's lardons, you know, on a salad or whatever. And so it was really frustrating. But now it's definitely, I think just in general, people are more aware of ingredients in food, because they have to be, because of allergens and because of that sort of thing. So now, you know, it's loads easier. It's loads better. There's way more awareness, and there are way more products and options in restaurants for people to eat who are following a vegan lifestyle.
So interesting, Jasmine, you mentioned there the allergen thing. I've just realised actually that when the allergen laws changed, And it meant that restaurants had to have all their ingredients, and you could go in and you would get their thing out and go, oh, you know, your korma with your, you know, oh yeah, oh no, you don't want that one. It's got some fish paste in it.
Yeah, or whatever, exactly.
You know, that kind of thing. And of course, that also happened in 2014. So Veganuary, and of course in 2013 you had the horse meat scandal. So there's these crucial big moves that really happened, and Veganuary is part of that history now. And when we look at the sort of normalizing of the anti-speciesist position, although Veganuary doesn't go the whole way to that position, it's this huge foot in the door, and it's this vehicle that people can attach themselves to get this through the door. And where you mentioned about, you know, your husband, it's, oh, you know, it's just like, oh no, you'll have this, it's acceptable. This is the big thing, and I think people have to remember this, that there is so much resistance in some places, and we would love people to get it all at once. And there's no reason why people can't get it all at once. There's no reason why we shouldn't present it all at once, but we should also expect people to not get it all at once. Exactly. And that's why, and to work with people and to encourage people. And that's why I think Veganuary has been such a huge thing. And of course, abroad. And I mean, you spend a lot of time in Portugal, which I'm so missing. I'd love to be able to just jump on and go to Portugal. I think you get imprisoned in a hotel if you come back from Portugal. You know, it's just like,
that's right.
You can't even, you know, you self-isolate. It's like, no, you're locked up for 2 weeks. So it's
tricky, isn't it? And I think, you know, for me, my biggest reservation initially of going vegan was cheese. And, you know, there are still, let's be honest, there are still some absolutely dreadful vegan cheeses out there. And I think, you know, for someone who is thinking, oh, I'm going to try this, and they've bought like something in a supermarket and they taste it and they're like, that's disgusting, I can't do that, you know, and they're put off forever. Whereas I loved cheese, cow or whatever, goat's cheese. I used to really enjoy it as a vegetarian, but I just couldn't eat it anymore. It just was not aligned with my beliefs and my, you know, I had to have integrity to myself, really. And I persevered and found some amazing vegan cheeses, you know, and even, you know, going even further than that, I found an amazing local company, and I've invested in a vegan food company, and we've been launching new products. And one of the things we've just recently launched is a vegan sauce for cheese lovers. And it's so cheesy, and it's literally, you just put in your pasta if you wanted macaroni cheese, or on your cauliflower for cauliflower cheese. And it's just, it tastes so fantastic. And, you know, so what I'm just trying to say is you've got to research all the different options until you find one you love.
Yeah.
Well, I love cheese, but I tend to be cheesy house music. I like house music.
I like cheesy music too.
Extra layers of particularly cheesy house music. I must admit, I'm particularly fond of that. I'd love somebody to come out with a quattro formaggio vegan version of a pizza or something to celebrate good house cheese, you know, because But you know, it's brilliant listening to you talking, Jasmine, about it. You know what? We've got John Robb sitting, waiting patiently to come on. So we're going to bring John Robb on fairly soon. But before we do that, before we talk to John, Jasmine, what would you really say to people like who are struggling a bit? What's your key message for people having a bit of a down day with all of this, whether it be trying to get on a plant-based diet, trying to home teach, trying to,
I mean, you know, we all have down days.
You know,
I think we all have down days, and I think if you are, you know, struggling on a path towards being vegan and plant-based, then what I would say is, you know, first of all, remember the reasons why you were motivated to try it in the first place, and that will be different for everybody. But also, I would say, you know, it doesn't have to be difficult. And I know you were sort of touched on that with Chef Day, and she's saying, you know, all her recipes are really easy. And I'm sort of coming at it almost from the opposite angle. I am going to try her course, by the way, because the food does look amazing. But for me, sometimes I'm so busy, I literally don't have time to sit and cook. And I might be, you know, when I'm at work, I'm traveling, you know, when I'm at home, I've got the children, I'm homeschooling, I'm trying to do work online. And so give yourself a break and make it easy on yourself. Like we at the Brook, we're launching some new products next week. So for anybody who thinks, oh, you can't get this or you can't get that, we're launching these fish cakes. Thea's just brought me the packaging.
Lovely. Let's have a look.
It's frozen, right? Yeah. So Chef Day will be very disapproving, I'm sure. But, if you can have a lovely meal that tastes just like fish cakes, which have fish in them, or you can have a curry, or you can have macaroni cheese, or you can have a bolognese, or whatever it is you fancy. You know, don't beat yourself up because you're not baking and making everything homemade from scratch. Just make your life easy, because we've all got a lot on our plates at the moment, and the mental strain, I think, of being in lockdown for such a long time, it takes its toll on everybody. And so I think, you know, it's really easy to just go into a downward spiral and go down on yourself when you're actually trying to do something really positive by going vegan and by trying Veganuary. So if you're thinking about whether to continue with it, I would say, you know, start by doing small steps, make it easy for yourself, and just keep going, remembering the reasons why you were motivated to try it in the first place.
I love that, Jasmine. And I've got to say as well, I know John's waiting, but I think, wasn't it a year ago that we had your fantastic party that I was luckily enough to be invited to at the Brook?
I know. It was a year ago we had the quiz show where we got your team beat our team due to a fixed question about the Veganuary participants, and I haven't forgotten that. I'm still, but don't let me interrupt. Karin,
no, that's right. And then obviously the restaurant had to close because lockdown happened. Yeah. But we're still concentrating on the online stuff, and we're still developing loads of new products, juices, sauces, you know, like frozen meals and everything else. So it's really exciting. I mean, I get to try them all, which is a bonus. But
it's wonderful.
You know, you can come back and tell us all about,
that's what the vegan community is so supportive to each other. So it's nice. There's room for everybody, because there's so much more demand now. It's wonderful.
Because you do the whole Brook range, isn't it, Jasmine? I know you've been doing this for a little bit. We should put some time aside for another time where you can come back and actually talk exclusively all about.
Yeah, good. My shameless plug there, but next week. So I had to give it a shout out.
With that stuff that you're doing there, which because that's a really important part, I think, of Veganuary has enabled. I think this is something we should credit actually Veganuary with, is that the big brands have got on board, of the multiples, the supermarkets, the big chains. And although for a lot of us, we don't really want to maybe participate in that all the time, for a lot of us, that's our life. And although it's great to see the independents like the Brook doing, vegan options, it's also great to see the multiples doing it. I'm not going to big up any of the multiples, but it's just, I think, an indication of the shift. But we're all about independence. We're supporting independence. We'd love you to come back and talk to us about some of those products. And perhaps, Karin, we might get a tasting session going on or something.
Yeah, Karin's already had a good taste.
I know, and I tell you what, the food is utterly fantastic. I keep saying I've got to reorder. I was blown away with the quality, the taste. I had such a fantastic night that night as well. And I do know, because Pete, the producer, is saying we are getting comments asking about the Brook. So could you tell us where we can find out how to? People are asking about the cheese sauce.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, at the moment it's online because the restaurant is closed, but the website is the-brook.co.uk, and you can also find some of the co-op stores have them in. They have branded freezers in there. So, but online is probably the most reliable. Then you can pick out what you want and just make it.
There we go. As if by magic, there's the website,
the-brook.co.uk. Great, thanks, guys.
Well, we've got to go because we've got John on, and then we've got Danielle Mopetui is going to come on and do this fabulous vegan dessert live demo. And that's literally in about less than 25 minutes now. So that's actually going to be worth sticking around for if you've got a bit of a, like Danielle. I mean, she's amazing pastry chef. Is a really incredible product. Just so. But before that, we're going to have John Robb on. Jasmine Harman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you so much for giving up the time to join us. We love you coming on our show. Karen, thanks for organising too. I know
she's gone.
No, I mean, we can sit all day and talk. This is the trouble with all our guests. We don't want to. It's my job to cut everybody off. I always get the short straw. I have to sort of keep them on, otherwise we never sit for hours. It's great. It's great.
I love Jasmine. She's passionate. She is so authentic. We're very lucky to have her support.
Very lucky. And we want to, Jasmine, hopefully come back. We will talk all about the book products because there's some brilliant products in the restaurants doing so. And we've got one in March, so we're going to be doing again in March. Tune in 20th, 21st. We'll be looking almost totally at health on a Saturday and fitness on a Sunday, so lots of food. We're going to come up to the end of our Veganuary panel now, but we've got one more guest before we go, and that is the esteemed, honourable, and very welcome John Robb. John, who is from Manchester, joining us, looking extremely horizontal and very laid back.
I think I'll sit up for you.
You're absolutely fine. So, John, thanks for joining us. And this is obviously a Veganuary panel. You've been vegan, what? Well, 12 years or something now?
About that amount of time. Vegetarian before that. So it was like the luxury vegetarian.
Yeah, in the back in the day. But I mean, in your circles, which is specifically like punk rock circles, I mean, you are primarily, you're many things, but you are lead singer of the Membranes. You've got your own band. You used to have Gold Blade, was it?
Still do that now and then, but I do loads of other stuff like write books, run a website.
Write books. You do festivals. You do online festivals. The thing you've done the most outrageous, which bear in mind you're going to be on tomorrow, and I'll be asking you all about, which was the most interesting, I should say outrageous, but interesting, was the interviews you did with Peter Hook around about the time of.
That's great, wasn't it? The Hacienda night where Sean Ryder.
You had a Hacienda night with Sean and Graham. I mean, that was brilliant. Graham Parks.
It was completely brilliant, wasn't it? Because everybody was really depressed because it was the first lockdown. And Sean Ryder, and in my little earphones, I could hear the council manager going, "Stop, switch him off." And I was thinking, no, he's just cheering everybody up because Sean knew what he's doing. It was completely funny. And everybody in the little comments down the side, we go, "Genius, genius, genius." Funniest thing I've seen for weeks. So I don't understand why people get so offended by a swear word. It's just really odd. The whole world's full of really offensive stuff, which kind of almost brings us back onto this topic. The fact that you got factory farming, cows getting killed, animals being killed, and then people get more upset by somebody using the F word, because I'm not even sure if I can use it here, but using the F word in an interview on a live cast. It's like that line in Apocalypse Now, wasn't it, when they went on about they wouldn't let them paint the F word on their planes, but they didn't mind them dropping loads of bombs on civilians in Vietnam. And it's what Marlon Brando does in that great speech in Apocalypse Now, wasn't it? The bizarre hypocrisy of the human race, isn't it?
It's strange, and we've seen quite a lot of that during lockdown. But just on that note, I will say, just a claim to fame, just to big myself up, I was very, very chuffed to know that as a promoter, I was being privileged to have booked all four of you guys on that particular podcast we had. We had Peter Hook, of course, from the legendary Joy Division, The New Order, and now Peter Hook and the Light. We had yourself, your good self. We've had Gold Blade Play. We haven't booked the Membranes. We've had Gold Blade Play about 10 years ago. A couple of times we had to play, actually. Had Sean Ryder, because we had the Happy Mondays in 2013 played. We were able to host Sean. But Graham Park, we've had from back in the day. We booked Graham Park way back in 1992, 93. Graham
DJ.
with our Club Yo-Yo. So Graham, actually, although possibly the least well known is, out of the four of you, was the biggest, massive. I mean, the Hacienda of the house tunes. But we said we wouldn't talk about all that. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
No, but I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, I'm happy to do Graham Park was a key player, in the story. Hacienda, Graham Park and Mike Pickering were the main DJs of the Hacienda, top of the culture. But they were never seeking headlines. They just played records.
That's right.
I did an interview with Sean Ryder. I had my own little vegan festival about a year and a half ago, before all the pandemic came. And I got Sean to be the special guest. It was brilliant because Sean is trying really hard to be vegan, but he can't quite get there. He's still eating fish. He's like halfway there. And he was hilarious, talk about it, how difficult it was. But for me, he was a perfect guest because it wasn't like anybody saying, look at me, I'm so pure and perfect. It was somebody who was striving but couldn't get there. And that the humanity of that was more intriguing, more honest, and because the way he delivered it, more hilarious. And that's what I like about what your events do. This is not a hectoring, holier than thou thing. It's all about the quest and trying to get there. And that's what I think is what's good about Veganuary. It's God knows how you pronounce it, like you say, but somebody just doesn't. One breakfast doesn't have a bacon butty. That's the step forward, isn't it? And this is not school. It's not lecturing people. It's just starting with those small steps, and every small step is actually a giant step, isn't it?
Well, especially John too, when you think about it. I mean, where you're from Manchester, and I mean, you've been doing some amazing lockdown stuff for photography. Talk about your other talents. I've seen some most fantastic photography. Worth following on Instagram, such like. We might ask you just to drop your details in there. We certainly share them on Facebook later on Vegfest, and again, as I said, we've got you tomorrow. But I think, when you think about something like Veganuary, and you talked about being pure and such like, and obviously, being vegan isn't really about personal purity. It's more about a principle of justice, about justice for animals. It's saying, look, animals, we don't need to use you. You're not ours to use. You've got a right to live. We'll leave you alone. We'll let you get on with it. We'll just assume you probably want to live like the rest of us. We'll do our best not to use you, not to, cause all this horrendous damage. And so it is actually an easy principle to sort of get hold of. But to turn it into that practice of actually then not using animals on a daily basis does take time. And when you think about somebody who's come out of Manchester recently, Marcus Rashford, and Marcus Rashford is pointing to the hundreds of thousands of school kids right now don't even have enough to eat. So when we're talking about these things, about, we have to recognise that even here in this country, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are severely challenged just getting enough food to eat every day. So this idea of immediately going vegan for everybody is just out of reach. But
in a sense, and this is another one of the great vegan arguments, that it would actually work in the context of Marcus Rashford's brilliant campaign, because it would probably be easier to feed everybody with vegan food if you weren't wasting all the space trying to make a cow eat 6 fields when you just make the 6 fields. That great argument went all the way back to the punk rock fanzines. And this is another curious thing I was thinking about, because I came up through punk rock, and that was my prime motivation for becoming vegetarian and eventually vegan. There's all these stories we always talk about now. Used to be in the backs of fanzines, and now they're mainstream. You put on the news. You even look on the Daily Mail website, which you look, because you have to read the enemy's website sometimes to see where they're at. And they have articles of being vegan, loads of vegan articles in there. And this is I suppose I could just chuck this in here, but because I just did that book with Dale Vince, Ecotricity, the Green Energy Guy. Vegan champion, you probably spoke to him and had him on here and things.
Well, he does vegan kids.
It's just a lot of great stuff, and we did this book called Manifesto, and one of the prime themes in the book is the story of his life, but it's also a manifesto for a post-pandemic future. And it's kind of these ideas that it's about green populism, and it's about taking populism, which at the moment the fascists and the right understand, how to speak to people. And maybe just speaking to normal people, but in populist terms. So that's what Marcus Rashford, in a sense, is doing. It's a populism, but it's a positive populism. And so what about green populism? This is what Dale's interested in. It's just about, you can still have a car. It's just an electric car. You can have a football club, which he owns, but it's a vegan football club. And he has this thing where you're taking vegan food into primary schools. It's about 400 primary schools now.
Yeah.
And so it's not just solely a thing for people who have the time and the relative wealth to experiment with their lives. It's for everybody. It's not a specialist thing. It's a normal thing. And we've all seen that in the last 10 years, haven't we, in veganism? It's you don't have to explain what it is to anybody anymore. People know what it is, and people coming on board, like one of the speakers about 3 speakers ago was saying, for the first speaker, there's about 200,000 people come to her organisation in the last year or whatever. It's huge now. It is mainstream. It's not a cult anymore. It's like when a weird little band like mine suddenly has a #1 hit. I mean, that would never happen to me. but more importantly, it's happened to something that's actually better for the world, which is veganism. Isn't it? It's not a weirdo concept anymore. It's mainstream, and let's keep pushing it right into the heart of the mainstream.
Oh, John, I love that. That's got to be the best analogy. I love that. I just love it.
We're going to have you back tomorrow, so we're going to wrap up now because we've got Danielle waiting in the wings. I'm not sure if we're going to bring everyone back just to say goodbye to wrap up this panel for Veganuary, but we will be going again tomorrow at 2:30 tomorrow, Sunday afternoon. So if you've been listening to John here and you've been as interested as I am and could listen a lot more, we've got another half hour tomorrow, which is fabulous. We could go into a bit more and bolts than that, but particularly inspiring to listen to, what you've been doing, because I know that, in the arts and the music and festivals and the alternative scene, it's just horrendous. There's very little creative, spark and motivation going on. All those people in these circles who are doing anything positive is a real key inspiration. And
it's difficult, but we're not moaning because we're not the frontline workers are the ones you have to care about. We'll be creative somehow. We'll come out somewhere else, but let's give it up for the people who are actually getting their hands dirty.
Fair enough, John. Fair enough. I absolutely second that. Even so, the mental health and there's a concern for our arts, and especially our underground and our kind of alternative arts. So on that note, though, folks, listen, we're going to go in 10 minutes' time. We're going live, Karin, with Danielle doing a fabulous cookery demo with desserts. John, you're going to be back tomorrow. I don't think we're going to be joined by everybody to say goodbye. So I think on that note, we shall say goodbye, and we'll see you again tomorrow. John, thanks for joining us.
Okay, see you.
John,
Vegan.
I hope you can come back soon, because I didn't get a word in edgeways with this one.
I know.
You know I am.
Never mind, Karin.
Me. Yeah.
You can do the next one. Cheers, John. See you soon.
All right, bye.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, darling, for organising this fantastic panel. It's just been really, really good. We have overrun as we thought we might. So, but there is, if you've been listening and you like the look of some of this stuff, of course, you go on the Vegfest page, you can see this number of presentations, quite a lot of things there to support you in your ongoing transition, and a really good panel later on today from the vegan approach, which is how to carry on after Veganuary. So we're not going to bring everybody back in for our guests because literally we have been chatting away. But thank you, Toni Vernelle, for joining us. Thank you, Day Radley, for joining us.
Yeah.
And thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy Morgan.
Wendy Morgan.
Thank you, Jasmine Harman, TV presenter, and for John Robb, multi-talented. It's all been about Veganuary, really, uplifting, inspirational, and we hope you've enjoyed that. But Karin, especially thank you to you, because you are the one who puts these incredible lineups together. You are the friend of all the vegan celebrities. They all love working with you. It's just such a lovely thing to do. And talking of inspiration, you really are a key cog or sort of glue. You help glue all these wonderful people together. You'll come together often and celebrate what we're trying to do. And I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I hope you, my lovely viewer, have enjoyed this session. There's plenty more coming. I've got my blatant advert behind me as well, Vegavision, so you don't see my cupboards behind. We bring this really for love and passion and for veganism. If you've done Veganuary, huge congratulations. Spread the word. Spread the word for Vegfest UK online as well. We want your support. We've got brilliant things coming out. As you can see, we are passionate vegans. It's the most important decision that you will ever make in your life. And yeah, Tim and I are very, very proud that we made that decision rather a long time ago. And you too can as well. So yeah, looking forward to Danielle's presentation coming up shortly. And Tim, as always, big love and huge thanks, because you are an inspiration and you're allowing this platform for so many people. So thank you.
Welcome, Karin. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. See you in a bit.
Bye.